So this jury has a really big opportunity, a genuine opportunity to really shape the way in which Bude responds. Things have changed in the last month since we were last here. And so I'm going to talk a bit about that. I'm going to talk a bit about the past, because there's all these acronyms and names of different things, SMPs and NDPs, and now there's a new one, CTAP, and so on. So this is an attempt to try and put some clarity on that.
You're here today because it's actually about trying to inform you about what's going on so that you can make the decisions.
Nobody else in Cornwall is doing this.
Get your views across, and they will be listened to.
The key principles are the thing to focus on.
If you melt the Antarctic ice cap, you can't refreeze it.
How do we limit the risk?
So potentially quite serious change at Crooklets.
There is a risk if we do nothing, the changes we could see will be significant.
A lot for us all to think about in terms of the action that we need to take.
Then we can respond collectively.
Because it will make a real difference.
So thank you very much for coming.
So we have these acronyms, SMP, DPD, CCMA, NDP, CTAP. Not very helpful. So I'm going to go through each of them in turn and just sort of explain them, try and put them into layman's language so that you understand, because you're going to be hearing quite a lot about these. And also which ones are relevant, which ones can you affect, and which ones are easiest to bring about change with. So SMP, that's the shoreline management plan. Do you remember that from last time? That was all about, whether we hold the line or we have managed retreat or we let nature take its course. It's a plan, okay? It's an agreed long-term plan. It's got policy statements for different sections of coastline. It's considered when decisions are made about in planning and strategic planning, okay? And the first one came into existence towards the end of the 90s, and then there was the SMP2 was agreed in 2011, and then that was revised in 2016, and they're currently revising it again or reviewing it. And they review it according to new evidence, things that have changed in the meantime, changes in sea level rise predictions and so on. It's got lots and lots of objectives, mainly about keeping the environment, supporting nature conservation, also the viability of coastal settlements, what impact any changes would have on the economy or tourism. But there's some really key bits in it. Ultimately, the direction within it is to reduce the reliance on defences in the future. And it came into being, so who made it? A panel was set up, a steering group. It's sort of very bureaucratic process. And then they consulted local authorities, the Environment Agency, Natural England, National Trust, all these kind of people. Hydrographic engineers were brought in, environmental consultants and so on. And then it went through a process of panels of elected councillors, and eventually it was adopted by the full council, by Cornwall Council. So in terms of having an effect on changing it, it's a big, long process you could do, and you could lobby the Environment Agency or English Heritage or whoever, but it's a big beast. So yeah, so those are the kind of the different policies that it brings and the effects on our local beaches. So there's something, yes?
Just for clarity, because you're stood next to this big shoreline project. Are the shoreline project and the shoreline management plan one and the same thing, or are they two separate?
They are separate things. So this is our shoreline project. The shoreline management plan is something that's been arrived at, a long process. Our project is just about responding to that. Well, not just that, but it's about responding to sea level rise, how we as a community respond to it. So more recently, the Climate Emergency Development Plan document, another long term with an acronym, came into being. That was adopted in February this year, very new, went through an extensive public consultation process, and it helps Cornwall to act on climate change. Okay? And its main purpose is to increase our resilience. It has 4 policies that are specifically, I'm just being told I've got to hurry up, 4 policies that are just to do with sea level rise. One of them is it makes all of Cornwall a coastal vulnerability zone, and the second one is it creates candidate coastal change management areas, and those are areas that you designate to have policies about how you're going to respond. And Bude is the first one that's listed in those ones. Okay. So what is a coastal change management area? It's an area that supports community-led local solutions for managing coastal change. Another mouthful, but it means that it's something that is locally focused. Okay. Defines the infrastructure and the community facilities that are at risk from coastal change. It also defines areas where you could relocate those things that are at risk. So if you decide that there's a cafe that needs moving or a toilet block or whatever. And it also contains triggers for when you declare a CCMA, right? Now, CCMAs, these things, form part of a neighbourhood development plan, and that's something that's drawn up by the local council. Bude Stratton Town Council are in the process of reviewing theirs. One of the reasons why they're reviewing it is so that they can have a CCMA within it. So that process is ongoing, and you can partake in that process. The whole way in which a neighbourhood development plan is reviewed, is created in the first place, it was created in 2016 and is reviewed, is that it works with the community. They're looking for community volunteers to contribute to that process. And it has real validity and authority because it goes out to public consultation and then there will be a referendum on it. Okay, so that referendum will probably be in a year or two's time. So, and then that then determines the local planning and policy and strategy. It has to be taken into account by Cornwall Council. Cornwall Council recognise it. Finally, there's a new thing, and this happened literally days after the last time we all met. And this was that it's called CTAP, the Coastal Transition Accelerator Programme. So as the name suggests, it's about transition, how we go from where we are now to where we need to be because of the threat of sea level rise and erosion. And it's a programme that speeds up our response to that. And Bude got £3 million from central government in that. Okay, it's been allocated to us. It hasn't been decided exactly how that's going to be spent. A business case has to be made. Okay, this is the first time anywhere in the Southwest has been given this money. Two other communities endorse it. They've been given £3 million between them. And these are the key things that I point out to you. It's about improving or replacing damaged community infrastructure. Okay, that might mean moving it. It might mean building something new that we now realise that we need, whatever. It is about repurposing the land in coastal erosion zones for different uses. So you might say this, I don't know, say for instance, Summerlees Downs at the moment, they're just purely for recreation, but you might decide that they need to be, some parts of it need to be put aside to move things to it. And it's about restoring and creating habitats to include green buffer zones, so wider things to do with biodiversity and the environment. Local project teams will support communities to develop and deliver plans, and the Environment Agency will share what it learns here with other communities. So it's like a pilot. And this programme runs to March 2027. You can make decisions, recommendations over this process that will feed into that, okay, and will have an effect. So this is where we are. You've got the SMP, shoreline management part, in the past, okay? It's being reviewed, but you can't really change it. Similarly with the climate emergency DPD, it's in the past, it's really new, so difficult to change. CCMAs are now coming into existence. They're part of the Neighbourhood Development Plan, Coastal Change Management Area, part of the Neighbourhood Development Plan, which is being reviewed by the Town Council. You can play your part in that. And CTAP, Coastal Transition Accelerator Programme, which provides the money and the plan for specific changes in our area and principles. Thank you.